Well, Hollywood legend Robert Redford has died at the age of 89, with tributes flowing in from all over the world. His impressive career spanned over decades, with iconic roles in films like All the President's Men and Butch, Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Let's talk more about Robert Redford's life and career with Dr. Daryl Sparkes, senior film lecturer at the University of Southern Queensland. Daryl, good to have you with us this evening. Now, firstly, few would know that Robert Redford had quite the story in his younger years, from being part of a street gang to getting kicked out of university for being drunk, drifting away, even working in Californian oil fields. How did he make his foray from that to acting?
He did have a very tough life in the first place. In fact, his mother died when he was 19 as well, and he was arrested for having stolen goods in the boot of a car. He drifted around for many years, and then when he was in Paris, he was actually attending art classes, and he decided that he was mixing with a lot of artists and actors, and he thought, I might give this sort of acting thing a bit of a shot. So he moved back to America, and he started attending acting classes there. And then at the very young age of 23, he wasn't doing those classes for very long. He started getting very small roles in television shows like The Twilight Zone, Dr. Kildare, various other ones. But he started being noticed, I think, originally because of his good looks.
So was he always perhaps, along with his good looks, do you believe perhaps he was a natural-born actor?
Well, this is the thing. Good looks will only open so many doors for you in Hollywood. And this was the thing with Redford is, he had the talent and the dedication to actually back up those good looks with it. So he started, after he got noticed a little bit, he started getting quite leading man roles in feature films. Unfortunately, they were all sort of very romantic leading man roles up against very strong female characters, such as Jane Fonda in Barefoot in the Park and Natalie Wood in a number of films. So I think in a way it was a two-sided coin for him. He realized the good looks, sure, they got him, auditions, they got him films, but he just didn't want to be noticed for that alone. And in fact, he graded against that in many ways because he missed out on a number of roles, in particular The Graduate with Dustin Hoffman. He missed out on that role because the director thought he was too good looking. And he decided not to take a role in Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf because he didn't want to get stereotyped like that. So, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid was that film that I launched him from just being an actor into a Hollywood icon. And you have to remember, Paul Newman at the time, who was his co-star in that, was a way bigger star than Redford was. But that launched him past Newman, past pretty much every other male actor that was around at that time, including people like Marlon Brando, into that upper stratosphere of the A-list actor.
Yes, and you mentioned Butch and the Sundance Kid, Barefoot in the Park, some of his best films, All the President's Men. What was your favorite performance?
Well, I'd have to say there's two. Definitely All the President's Men. And the thing with that film is, if you watch it, he's up against Dustin Hoffman, who was the actor's actor, a consummate actor. And I think Redford actually did a better job than Hoffman in that film. And the travesty of that film actually was that neither of them got an Oscar nomination for their roles. In fact, Redford never won an Oscar for any of the acting roles he was ever in, even though he acted for nearly 6 decades overall. He did win one Oscar, and that was for directing Ordinary People in 1980. And I think this sort of somehow makes me think that Hollywood pretty boy image of him, he was never able to shirk with the Hollywood establishment. That always sort of was an issue with him that stopped him being taken as a very serious actor. And so all of the films he did in the 80s and 90s and things like that never did comedies. It was always very dramatic roles because he wanted to prove to everyone and himself that he was a real actor.
Yeah, so do you believe he didn't get the sort of recognition he should have gotten beyond that Oscar he got for directing? But he did get a few Golden Globes as well.
He did, and he ended up getting an honorary Oscar in 2002. But when you look at the body of his work, and I mean, he was in some great films in there. Some of my personal favorites are like The Horse Whisperer, A River Runs Through It, Brubaker, which is brilliant film. Quiz Show that he directed, which was another great film. But I think a lot of his films also looked at the dark side of humanity, about corruption, about greed, things like that, and that really affected the way people responded to his films. He really got rid of that leading man, good-looking, pretty boy roles very early, and the films he changed into in the 80s and 90s, I think a lot of people didn't like the sort of the edge that they had.
Yes, and how defining, Daryl, was him founding the Sundance Institute that spawned the Sundance Film Festival as well? What has that done to the film industry?
Oh, well, this is the thing with Sundance was, behind the camera and away from the camera, Redford did a lot of great philanthropic work. He was a very strong pro-environmentalist, very strong with First Nations, American rights. But the thing he will be remembered for is Sundance Institute and the Sundance Film Festival, because there wasn't really an area for independent filmmakers to break out of into the mainstream. And Sundance allowed that. And so you would not have people today like Quentin Tarantino, Robert Rodriguez, Paul Thomas Anderson, Kevin Smith. They all got a leg up because of Sundance and because of Redford really supporting them through that period.
Yes, and why do you think he did continue to remain acting in more recent times with even roles in the Marvel universe?
Yeah, I often wonder, I think of the kids who have been watching him in Avengers Endgame or Captain America Winter Soldier, who were wondering, who is this grizzled old guy? They probably had no idea of, the length, the longevity of his acting career over years. But that was the great thing about Redford, is he reinvented himself all the time for every single decade, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s. He moved into producing. He was working as an executive producer this year, so at the age of 89. So, he really, I think with Redford, his lasting legacy is that he gave back more than what he took out of the system. He gave to young filmmakers, he gave to his colleagues, and this is a great thing about Redford, is when you watch his films, he never tried to struggle to gain the limelight all the time, to be the number one figure in the film. He shared the screen with his co-stars and gave very, very much so. And you can see from the tributes that are pouring in today, just how much of the other acting community just love him so much.
Okay, we'll leave it there. Dr. Daryl Sparkes, really appreciate you sharing us your thoughts of Robert Redford's career and life. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Cheers. Bye-bye.